The Verdict, a Sidebar production, hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. As a part of its traditional and continuing commitment to public and community service, Crow & Dunlevy sponsors The Verdict. Also sponsored by Delta Dental, Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, and C.H. Guernsey & Company. Each week on The Verdict, we present an objective discussion of contemporary and legal issues, topical issues that will affect Oklahomans in their daily lives. The Verdict, a Sidebar production.
And welcome to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett, and I am joined, as always, by one of Oklahoma's top legal experts, Kent Myers. Kent, good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad to be back for the second of 3 shows that we're going to give to our viewers on the plight of abused and deprived children in Oklahoma. We last Sunday talked about a little bit of the problem in general. Today we're going to be talking with some of the people who are in the trenches in these cases, people who actually represent the children. Judge Stuart will be back to talk about it as his view from the bench. And we want to see about how the staffing is being maintained, at least in Oklahoma County and generally around the state. But I want, as a precursor to that, to bring up a graphic now to explain a little bit about the procedure that goes on in handling one of these cases. It's a graphic dealing with abused and deprived children, and as you can see at the top, a single abused and deprived case can break down into 2 parts. One is the condition that brought about the abuse or the deprivation correctable. If it is correctable, then there will be a treatment plan implemented. 2 things can happen with the treatment plan. It can be, the condition can be corrected, and if that happens, there will be reunification with the parents. If the condition is not corrected, then the case can be turned into a termination of parental rights case. On the other hand, if the original abuse is such that is to be heinous and shocking or otherwise qualify for termination at the outset, there won't be a treatment plan. It will be a straight termination case. And the people we'll be talking to in this show and the next are those who are deeply involved in both aspects of this kind of abused and deprived case.
Look forward to it. Today we're going to learn more about how we in Oklahoma deal with abused and deprived children who wind up in our court system. You're watching The Verdict with Mick Cornett and Kent Myers.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
The Verdict is pleased to have as a sponsor C.H. Guernsey & Company, providing architectural and engineering services to clients throughout the U.S. and around the world.
American Express Tax and Business Services. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. American Express Tax and Business Services. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
And Blankenship has stopped at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play. Leading it 4th and 7 on the Tiger 46-yard line. 38 seconds on the clock. The Tigers have no choice but to go for it. Wiggins in to do the kicking. Here's the snap. And the kick is away.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. But sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all of the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. Oklahoma Lawyers for Children has over 350 of the best attorneys and volunteers in Oklahoma County who donate their time and services to represent children. For more information, call 405-23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
introduce our guests.
One repeat guest and one new guest. I would like first to introduce across the table Bill McKinney. Bill is an assistant public defender in the Oklahoma County Public Defender's Office, in specifically the Juvenile Division, and for 21 years or thereabouts has been representing abused and deprived, neglected children in Oklahoma County. Bill is a frequent lecturer on children's issues. He is the recipient of the Friends of Children Award in the year 2001. Probably most importantly, he is a husband and father of one. Bill, thank you for joining us here on The Verdict.
It's good to be here.
On my right is a repeat guest making his second visit with us, the Honorable Roger Stuart, special judge in the Juvenile Division of Oklahoma County. Judge Stuart has been an assistant district attorney, an assistant U.S. attorney, and an attorney for Department of Human Services. He was with us last week talking about some of these same issues. Husband and father of three. Judge Stuart, thank you for coming back.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Well, Judge, let me start with you, if I may. In a typical deprived case, who are the parties and who represents the parties?
There's usually three parties. The state of Oklahoma is represented by the district attorney's office, and in Oklahoma County we have a special division of the district attorney's office that handles only juvenile matters. And they are folks who do not do prosecutions of crime, but are in juvenile court because they want to be there, because they believe that it's an important function.
As a matter of fact, Wes Lane was there before he was appointed district attorney.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. He headed up the division. Parents are a party, of course, and they're entitled to representation by either hiring their own lawyer, or if they're found to be indigent, they're entitled to representation by court-appointed attorneys. The child in Oklahoma is a party to these proceedings, and they're represented in our county by the Public Defender's Office. In other counties, in rural counties, there's usually a list of attorneys in private practice that judges appoint to represent the child.
Well, now, in Oklahoma County, I know you're a special judge dealing with these matters. Are you the only one, or are there other judges in the Juvenile Division?
No, we have a total of 4 judges, 3 special judges, and an associate district judge, Nan Patton.
And although you indicated this last week, you remind our viewers just where your court and the court complex is located that deals specifically with children.
Right. It's located at 5905 North Classen Court. It's not connected with the downtown courthouse. That building was constructed in 1986, and for those of you that lived in Oklahoma County for quite a while, it's usually referred to, a lot of times referred to as the Berry House.
Bill, the parents, they are obviously interested in what happens to their child, particularly if they've been charged with abuse or neglect or depriving the child in some respect. Is the parent absolutely entitled to a lawyer even if they can't afford one?
Yes, they are.
Is that a constitutional mandate?
It's through the Supreme Court of Oklahoma, and deriving from the U.S. constitutional provisions that parents are entitled to protect a fundamental interest, which is their interest in their children.
Now, do some parents come in and hire their own lawyers?
Yes, they do.
And then for those who can't hire, the judge indicated that lawyers are appointed for them. Is there a group of lawyers that accept those appointments?
Yes, there's several attorneys that have a contract with the Oklahoma County court system that provide the services for the parents that are indigent, as the court said.
So if a parent would not have to appear in court in a matter dealing with their child without having a lawyer present representing the parents' rights?
That's correct.
Now, you represent, as I understand it, children.
Yes.
Almost exclusively. How many lawyers do you have in your office that represent children?
Well, in the Juvenile Division, there's 4 attorneys that handle the deprived cases that are assigned to us by the juvenile court. There's an attorney assigned to each of the judges, and so there's 4. Like I said, there's 4. There
have been a few recent headlines on this issue. It's not why we're doing the show. We were going to do the show anyway, but it's just timely that we do it now. There was an implication in one of the stories I read that maybe the lawyers out in the Juvenile Division are baby lawyers or are not experienced. I know you are very experienced, and as a matter of fact, you and I have tried a case together out there, but What about your colleagues out there? Are they baby lawyers or are they experienced lawyers?
Well, we're very fortunate in our office. My colleague, Rick Alt, he's been out there for 22 years. Ryan Hauser in Judge Patton's court, he's been doing this for 7 years. And Ernie Nalligan, the other attorney, the fourth attorney, he volunteered in our office before he was hired, practiced some downtown doing adult work, and came back out to juvenile court.
Well, let's go back, Judge, just for a minute, back to the parents' lawyers. If we have both private lawyers and appointed lawyers, just approximately in your court, what kind of percentage do you see between parents who can afford to hire their own lawyers and those that can't?
I think between 75 and 80% of the cases in juvenile court do have court-appointed lawyers. And there's advantages in both, having a private lawyer and having a court-appointed lawyer. Advantages in private lawyers, for those who can afford them, is oftentimes additional resources. The advantage in having court-appointed attorneys is that they do these cases. And this juvenile court area is a specialized area of the law. Not every attorney out there has specialized knowledge of it, and the court-appointed attorneys handle hundreds of these cases a year.
Well, we've all three been through law school. Mick feels like he has, been around me all this time. You can go all the way through law school and not hear anything about juvenile law or abused and deprived children, can you not?
Oh, that's correct.
So the fact that you passed the bar and are authorized to practice doesn't mean you know anything about this area of the law.
That's right.
If I could, I hate to interrupt, but back on the thank you. Back on the qualifications of the Public Defender's Office in our county, I will tell you that, and Bill McKinney has been assigned to my courtroom, I will tell you that I don't believe there's anyone in the state who's practiced in the juvenile court arena as long as Bill and Rick Alt and some of the other attorneys that are out there. This is the particular kind of case where wisdom isn't gained as much from reading the law books as it is from experience and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And I've come to rely on Mr. McKinney and the voice of the child that he represents to a great degree on the cases. So I've always been pleased with the representation that he's provided, and I think we're lucky in Oklahoma County.
Judge, how much is your role? How much do you have to rely on a gut instinct in cases? Are you always trying to follow a case history or some letter of the law? Or sometimes you just have a feeling, a perception of what to do in a situation?
Well, I try not to rely on gut instinct. What I want to rely on are the people who appear in front of me who have an understanding and a knowledge of the case. And so it's very important that we have folks that know the child.
So you're talking about Bill, or are you talking about the parents?
Bill, the parents, from everybody, from the DHS workers. It's important to know the facts. It's important to know where we are in a particular case. So I rely on everybody who appears in my court to give me the information. I never feel as though I could have too much information about a child or their family. What I worry about at times is not having enough to reach a decision.
Bill, if the parents, for instance, have done something that has resulted in them being charged with a crime, and they're being prosecuted by the district attorney's office downtown, can you also represent the parents?
No, that would be a conflict of interest, and we out there as a public defender would either represent the parent when they come out before the court, or the court would appoint another attorney, not in our office, to represent the child.
Let me jump in here and get us to a break. You're watching The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I'd like to offer my most sincere congratulations to the firm of Crow and Dunleavy, the employees and attorneys. Profound contributions to the state of Oklahoma for this past century, and I wish you well for this coming century. Thank you.
Happy anniversary, Crow Dunleavy, and thank you for 100 years of providing quality legal service to the state of Oklahoma. We wish you much continued success and growth.
St. Gregory's University has been changing the lives of people like me for 125 years. Affordable private Catholic education, balanced with dedication to community and service, makes St. Gregory special. We're extremely proud of our students' outstanding academic achievements and our nationally ranked athletic teams. It's when you help a student build a future of balance, integrity, and service that you change a life forever. St. Gregory's, a community for life.
We are C.H. Guernsey & Company. We provide engineering, architecture, and consulting services to clients across the nation and around the world. Our corporate headquarters are located in Oklahoma City, and we have branch offices across the country, including Tulsa. We have provided quality service to clients for nearly 75 years. At Guernsey, we believe in quality work and unconditional client satisfaction. To learn more about C.H. Guernsey & Company, log on to our website at chguernsey.com.
I enrich our cultural landscape.
I help define our quality of life.
I am one of 4,000 artists in central Oklahoma who receive
support from Allied Arts, this community's united arts organization.
I am an Allied artist.
Mick Cornett and Kent Myers back on The Verdict. We're talking to juvenile judge Roger Stuart and assistant public defender Bill McKinney, who assigns juvenile cases. Kent, where are we here?
I want to start with Bill and ask about just what your caseload is like. We have seen recent headlines that suggest that your caseload is very high and that there's a lot of activity out there in your courtroom. Just for instance, how many cases do you have and how many kids does that represent?
Well, in Judge Stewart's court, I represent approximately 900 kids.
At any given time?
At any given time, deprived kids, and that's in about 450 different files, 450 different files. Judge Jones has about the same caseload in his court. Judge Patton has approximately 375 to 400 cases and approximately 800 children. Judge Hammond has approximately 240 cases.
Bill, there's got to be situations where you have to talk one-on-one with an abused child and try to find out what happened and what's best for this child. What sort of preparation have you had? Do they teach you in law school how to deal with juveniles in this manner?
There's no course in law school that teaches you how to talk with children in that situation. What we try to do is bring the child in. Sometimes it's as an icebreaker. I wear children's ties. Now this one isn't, but I have a Mickey Mouse watch. And we may start talking about that, Mickey Mouse, and laughing about that. We have Pokemon cards, and we give them out. Judge Stewart in his courtroom gives out candy. And it's not to entice the child to do things. It's just to break the ice and so they can get to know us first. And that's the most important part. Starting the relationship with the child so that they can talk to us about things. And then the other thing that we got to make sure we do is that we need to make sure we use words they understand in ways that they understand them. When we say court, we mean a judge. When you hear court as a sports person, you may think of a tennis court or a basketball court. So we have to make sure our terms are such that they understand them. And so we gain their trust, give them information and knowledge about what we're doing, and approach it slowly. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 interviews. Sometimes it takes more. Sometimes kids are very ready to talk to us about what's going on. So, but you don't learn that in law school, no.
Following up on that just a little bit, is there any rough standard about at what age a child is old enough to express their views about what they want to see happen that would be a guidance for you?
It's around 7. I can't, that's just the initial age. It could be younger. Some are very articulate, knowledgeable at 5 years old. And some at 10 don't have that knowledge or background that can give a good reasoned response to the information we need. So it's a case-by-case basis, but 7's kind of the rule of thumb.
Let me follow up on that and say, let's just take a hypothetical that you've got a 11-year-old child that knows what's going on, is articulate, and says, I want to go home. I don't want my parents' rights terminated, and you in your heart just know that's a mistake. What do you do representing the child? How do you resolve that?
Well, as a good lawyer, and you're the best, you don't just ask your client what you want to do and go run to the courthouse. You advise your client. You tell them what's the situation they're in, the different options that the client has to follow, and so that they can have as reasoned, informed a decision as possible to make sure when they tell you what they want, that they know all the parameters.
These trials that we're talking about in your court, Judge, are they jury or non-jury trials?
Well, in Oklahoma, if you're talking about termination of parental rights, our Oklahoma Constitution provides that parents are entitled to a 6-member jury trial for termination of parental rights. We're only one of a handful of states that provides for a jury trial. Most allow trials only by the judge.
And termination trials, just approximately what percentage would you say in your court are actually tried to juries, and how many are tried just to you as the court?
Well, not very many are tried to just the court on the termination phase. I'd say that 90%, 95% are in all 4 courtrooms are tried to a jury.
Now, these trials, Judge, I don't want to get into any particular case. I just happen to know that you finished a jury trial recently that took like 8-9 days of trial. These aren't things that just are done in 30 minutes or done in half a day.
No, they're not. And while the jury trials are going, our regular dockets get continued. And you kind of get into a catch-22. In order to move a case, you have to have a trial, but in order to have a trial, you have to continue cases.
6 jurors, does it have to be a unanimous decision?
No, it's only a 5-person. Only 5 have to agree.
Bill, let me throw the ball back over to you for a minute. You've told me about how many children you're representing. How in the world are you able to do what you need to do with these kids if you have so many? I've practiced law a long time. I don't know that I've had 900 clients in 35 years. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But in any event, you've got 900 today. How do you deal with it?
Well, we try to prioritize what we do. We try to make the most good in the most amount of cases that we can. We utilize volunteers, Lawyers for Children. They assist us in handling cases completely, or assist us in preparing cases for trial, which fortunately has helped out in a lot of settlements because of the work that the volunteer lawyers have put into it. We have volunteers in our office. Rena Ellis, Lou Jenkins come into our office, and I want to mention their names because they're very important, and they're well qualified, well knowledgeable about the juvenile system. They come in and they contact foster parents, arrange interviews, and also do some groundwork that we can't do. We have law students that come in and volunteer their time. So we utilize the volunteer system heavily to help us manage our caseload.
We'll have to wrap it up there. Bill McKinney, thanks for coming by. Judge Stuart, appreciate having you back.
Thank you.
Kent and I'll be back with a final word when we return. You're watching The Verdict with Mick Cornett and Kent Myers.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. But sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all of the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. Oklahoma Lawyers for Children has over 350 of the best attorneys and volunteers in Oklahoma County who donate their time and services to represent children. For more information, call 405-23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Bringing out the best in each student. That is the simple goal and tradition of Heritage Hall. The focus on the individual shapes the educational experience at Heritage Hall. Each student benefits from small classes, able, dedicated teachers, a solid academic curriculum, and exceptional co-curricular programs of athletics, arts, community service, and other activities. parental involvement, personalized counseling, and the development of responsibility, integrity, and love of learning. If you want education taught with pride, then you want Heritage Hall.
Think being a big brother means taking time out of your schedule to tutor a kid in algebra? Think again. To learn more about becoming a big brother or big sister, call 1-888-412-BIGS.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up another edition of The Verdict.
We had two people that do about as hard a job as anybody could do in our county and in this state, Judge Stuart and Bill McKinney, representing the youngest, most vulnerable, most abused, innocent citizens. And they do it day after day, they do it year after year, and each case is a story unto itself that will just literally rip your heart out, and somehow they're able to show up and continue to do it over and over again with dedication. Bill McKinney left me a card that I'd like to read to our viewers. It came from a foster parent about a child that Bill had represented. The card says, "The greatest natural resource that any country can have is its children," and it's addressed to Bill. "It may often appear that the job you do is thankless, but please always remember that when you reach out to help a child, you are holding hands with God. Thank you for being the voice of the child. There's no greater calling on earth. Thank you for helping," and then the name of the child. Well, these kinds of thanks are too few and far between, and I want our viewers to keep in mind that, at least from us on The Verdict, we thank Bob Ravitz, who is the public defender, who has put together an excellent office at the Juvenile Division, representing literally thousands of children every year that have had the most awful things happen to them, and try and get their life turned around in a way that will make them productive, honest citizens. And our thanks go out to Judge Stewart, Bill McKinney, and all of their colleagues for doing what they do.
Great idea for a show, Kent.
Thanks.
Thanks again to our guest, Judge Roger Stewart, and Assistant Public Defender Bill McKinney. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time on The Verdict.